Welcome back everyone. So I did this video yesterday about why you should buy a iPhone in 2020 and this bird is outside being so annoying. And I want to do the same exact thing for Samsung phones, and I'll eventually do the same thing for OnePlus phones, LG phones, all those ones too. And the thing about Samsung is there's so many cool features and cool reasons as to why to pick them up. And I think they're very great phones at the end of the day. Samsung, makes some really great hardware, some great software sometimes too. So here are several reasons as to why you should pick up a Samsung phone in 2020. Now, the first reason being, and this is a pretty common one, but one that most people kind of forget actually when they go talk about Samsung phones, and it's actually the future-proofing of features. Now, the phones themselves aren't necessarily like future-proofed, like there's a lot of things weird with them, but for sure in terms of a hardware standpoint, they are usually on the up and edge with the, bringing new features and doing crazy things like that. Now, even stemming back all the way to like the Galaxy S7 and even the Galaxy S8, there weren't, with the S8 specifically, there weren't really a lot of phones at that time that were really pushing that bezel-less trend. And then when the Galaxy S8 came, that really kind of set the standard for a ton of phones in the market. Now, they weren't the first phones to do bezel-less or even close to bezel-less, that's obviously not a given, but for a major manufacturer like that, that's a pretty big deal. And also at the end of that year, we saw the iPhone X get released. And to be honest, look how many improvements we've seen on Apple phones, since the iPhone X. Pretty much they all look the same from the front, to be honest. Versus with the Samsung Galaxy, you look at a Galaxy S8, you look at a phone like a Galaxy S20, and there are some major differences. Even between a Galaxy S8 and a Galaxy S10, Samsung has made some serious improvements with that hardware. And the way it looks and everything is one way, but also the features that those phones have added. I mean, we have reverse wireless charging, which is an extremely huge thing that was brought last year. We have that inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display, which is crazy. And now with that Samsung Galaxy S20, we have that 120Hz refresh rate on that display too, which is extremely awesome. And that's something that not a lot of phones have. I honestly don't know that many phones that have 120Hz refresh rate. And when you compare that to a lot of other phones in the market, not just Apple phones, but if you look at OnePlus, if you look at Huawei, if you look at all these other phone manufacturers, they offer a lot of cool features too, but it seems like Samsung gives you the best all-around great phone with some really useful features at the end of the day. Now, they're not perfect, like I said, but those cool features are there. Whether you get the Galaxy S10 or you get the Galaxy S20, all those features are there for these phones, and they're going to be continuing to come for the next generation and the next generation too. So the future-proofing of features and the additional features that you get on Samsung phones versus a lot of the other manufacturers are pretty awesome. And like I stated, at the same time, it's almost as if Samsung, whatever they have at the moment, the top technologies and whatever, they literally just put those in the phone. They don't even wait until next year to add them or anything like that like Apple does. They literally just go and push whatever they have straight into their phones, which is super impressive. So at the end of the day, Samsung really pushes a lot of features into their phones, which is really cool. Now, another big reason to pick up a Samsung phone is the price points. Now, brand new, they are a little bit different. Obviously they still cost the same exact price, but in the used market, they go down in value so much, which isn't necessarily a good thing for the people who bought them brand new, but for people who are buying them used, people like you, maybe you want to buy a brand new Samsung phone, but you don't want to necessarily pay the new prices, you can technically just buy a used one. And these things, since they depreciate so quickly, you can pick up a used one for a pretty cheap price. I'll give you an example. The Samsung Galaxy S20 right now on Amazon, which is, when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. They are selling for literally $799, which is $200 cheaper than what they were going for brand new. I can't even find an 11 Pro for that much, an iPhone 11 Pro. I can't even find that in the used market for that price. So it's pretty insane that price is already that low for the Samsung Galaxy S20. So what I will tell you is the price points, if you're buying them used, will always end up being you and basically giving you better bang for dollar from a Samsung phone in the used market than a lot of other competitors. These things depreciate a lot more than OnePlus phones. LG is probably the worst at it. But between OnePlus and iPhones, this one, even Huawei phones I've seen, Samsung phones tend to depreciate a lot more. And like I said, the S20 has barely been out for a month and already on Amazon they're down for $7.99, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. If you actually want to pick that up, you can help support the channel at the same time. But whether you want to go for the S20 or the S10 or the S9, these things are so undervalued in my opinion. Even with the S10, you can pick one up for around $400. I'll leave one link down below too, and you can pick them up for super cheap prices on eBay or Amazon or wherever. So that's another huge reason to pick up a Samsung phone, is because they're pretty cheap to buy. And also going along that, they have so many different phones you can choose from. It's not necessarily just the Samsung Galaxy S series. They also have their Samsung Galaxy Note series, but let's say if those are too expensive too, they also have their Samsung Galaxy A series devices as well. They have the A20, A51, and A71 and all those new ones too. And that's a very, very important thing to consider. Not everyone wants to have those cool features. Not everyone can afford those cool features. So Samsung made it an initiative to make sure there's, a huge breadth in terms of their devices and device layouts. So for sure, at the end of the day, there are more Samsung devices you can choose from than a lot of other manufacturers, including OnePlus, and Huawei might be up there. LG kind of is up there too, but Samsung has made so many phones, it's insane. And also more in terms of the hardware. For some reason, I don't know why. Well, I know why. Samsung has the best panels in the game for their screens. They produce the best screens I've ever seen on any phones, to be honest. They're better than Huawei's, better than LG's, better than OnePlus's, better than Apple's. Even though Samsung sources a lot of panels and creates a lot of panels for Apple and some other manufacturers, I'm sure too, they create some really, really nice panels, and it goes to show that their technology is on par with some of the best. They already created the 120Hz refresh rate on that Samsung S20, so for sure at the end of the day, their screens are so nice, and they should be nice because you're going to be using it every single day. And that is something that I always love about the Samsung Galaxy phones, the S20, even the Galaxy S10 last year. Dude, even if I'll be honest, even when I pick up my Samsung Galaxy S6, that thing also has a pretty good display. And granted, my older ones tend to have a lot more burn-in than a lot of other used older phones from around that age too. But with the S6, I look at that screen and I'm like, wow, this thing has a great panel. I look at my Samsung Galaxy Note 4, more so my Note 5, and I'm like, that thing has a very, very good panel too. So the screens on these things, even though they get some burn-in here and there, they definitely look really, really good while they don't have any burn-in. Another really cool thing about Samsung phones is that they have expandable storage, a majority of them except the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Note 5. So you can go and expand that storage for really however much you want to, I think at least 1 terabyte. So you can go and get that phone for that 128 gig storage variant and just expand that storage for as much as you want to, which is a very, very important thing. Not everyone, wants to buy the most expensive storage model. You don't have to go out and buy the top tier 512 gig model. You can get the 128 gig model and save a bunch of money and just buy a terabyte SD card, which will help you out a lot. A lot of other phone manufacturers, like I stated before, don't have that capability. Apple doesn't have it. OnePlus doesn't have it. But the Samsung Galaxy phones, for the most part, do have it, except for the S6 and the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. Other than those ones, the Note 10 Plus has it, the S20s have it, all these other phones have it, so I would highly recommend you. The expandable storage is definitely one of my favorite things. And also, the Samsung Galaxy S lineup has some of the greatest cameras I've also seen in any of the phones as well, and they are usually on par with probably the best. I don't even think the Pixel phones are even that high up anymore. The Samsung Galaxy S10 last year, that whole entire lineup, I think as a majority had the best cameras of that year, and this year I'm pretty sure the Samsung Galaxy S20 is also going to have the best camera layout of this year, which rightfully so. It brought a lot to the table. We can do 8K on that phone, which is insane. We haven't seen that really on, I don't think, any other phone yet. So that's a seriously awesome thing that you have that capability on the Samsung Galaxy S20. Even last year, like I stated before, the Galaxy S10, even if you go far back as the Galaxy S6 or even earlier, you can even still shoot 4K videos on a lot of these older Samsung phones, which is really, really impressive. So at that point, I would highly recommend the cameras on these things, whether you're going to take a quick photo or a video or whatever. Their camera quality is really good. The video quality is really good. The audio quality is kind of hit or miss, but definitely the camera quality is very, very good in these older Samsung phones and even the newer ones for sure. And the last thing I want to hit on are the 5G variants. Like I stated before, Samsung tends to be ahead of a lot of the other competition. There's a ton of 5G phones for a lot of the different markets out there. But the Samsung Galaxy S lineup, even until last year, they created those 5G phones. This year, they created the 5G phones again. And even though 5G really is going to take some time to get really, really good, at least you have that capability in these phones. So whether we get it this year, that's really, really good, or we get it next year, 5G that's widely accessible, whenever that comes, our phones are going to be capable of handling that. Whereas a lot of the competition, they're still on those 4G and those older modems that they have, which isn't a big deal for a lot of people, I'm sure. But like I stated before, you have that capability on these phones where you don't necessarily have it on a lot of other phones. And like I stated, and like how I brought up this video, I just feel like with Samsung phones, you're just kind of future-proofing yourself. The software might be a little bit weird. For an Android phone, it's pretty decent. For comparing to iOS, there's no competition. But for a phone, it's really like, even if you get an older Samsung phone, they tend to handle things extremely well. And I'm actually really happy to recommend Samsung phones to a lot of people. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I'll tell you, if you're in the market for a phone, getting a used Samsung Galaxy S10 or Samsung Galaxy S9, or even getting a brand new Samsung Galaxy S20, or picking up a Note 9 or a Note 10 or whatever, I don't really think you're going to be missing out on anything. And if anything, you're going to be getting a ton of features at the end of the day. So that's a couple reasons as to why I would recommend a Samsung Galaxy phone in 2020. If you have any other questions or any other recommendations, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed the video, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.